The morning Lauren left for New York, everything seemed perfectly normal. She kissed me goodbye, ruffled Tyler's hair, and gave Lily an extra long hug. That's how 18 years of marriage worked. Comfortable routines, predictable goodbyes, the promise of a quick return. "I'll call every night," she said, wheeling her suitcase toward the waiting Uber. "And don't forget, Lily has soccer on Thursday and Tyler needs his science project materials." I nodded, giving her my usual relaxed smile. "We've got this. Just focus on nailing that presentation." That was Monday. By Thursday morning, something felt off. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 48 years old, run a successful tech solutions company in Seattle. And until 3 days ago, I thought I had the perfect life. Beautiful home overlooking Lake Washington. 2 amazing kids. A wife whose career in corporate consulting had taken off in recent years, even if it meant more business trips. "Dad, Mom didn't call last night," Lily mentioned at breakfast, her cereal spoon hovering halfway to her mouth. At 10 years old, she noticed everything. "She texted," I said, sliding my phone across the table to show her. "Said her meetings ran super late and she didn't want to wake you up." Tyler, 15 and already developing that teenage detachment, barely looked up from his phone. "She's probably just busy. These New York trips always stress her out." He was right. Lauren had been making quarterly trips to their East Coast office for the past year, always returning exhausted but satisfied. This particular trip was for an important client presentation, something she'd been preparing for weeks. I poured myself another coffee and checked my messages again. Lauren's text had been shorter than usual. Brief good mornings, no details about her day, no funny stories about her co-workers or complaints about the hotel. When I called the previous evening, she'd sounded distracted, ambient noise suggesting she was in a restaurant or bar. "Just grabbing a quick dinner with the team," she'd explained. "I'll call tomorrow with more time to talk." The idea came to me while driving back from dropping the kids at school. It was nearly spring break. Tyler and Lily only had Friday left before a week off. Lauren wasn't due back until Tuesday. What if we surprised her in New York? We could fly out Friday after school, spend the weekend exploring the city, and Lauren could extend her stay through Monday. The kids would love it, and honestly, I missed my wife. When I pitched the idea to the kids that afternoon, their reactions were exactly what I'd hoped for. "Yes!" Lily bounced on the couch. "Can we see the Statue of Liberty? And Central Park? And Broadway?" Tyler tried to play it cool, but I caught the excitement in his eyes. "That's actually pretty awesome, Dad. Mom's going to freak." "In a good way," I assured him, already booking our flights on my laptop. "We'll stay at her hotel. I'll arrange everything." I texted Lauren casually that evening, careful not to reveal our plans. "How's the big city treating you?" Her response came nearly an hour later. "Busy, exhausted, presentation went well, but we're still putting out fires. Missing you guys. Can't wait to get home. Give the kids hugs from me." I smiled, imagining her face when we showed up at her hotel, the Waldorf Astoria, where her company always booked their executives. I'd called ahead and reserved a family suite on the same floor as Lauren's room, mentioning to the friendly reservation agent that we were surprising my wife who was already staying there. "How romantic," the woman had gushed. "I'll make sure not to spoil the surprise if she happens to stop by the front desk." Everything was set. Bags were packed secretly while the kids were at school. I'd arranged for my second-in-command to handle the office. My excitement grew throughout Thursday, but then something happened that sent the first real chill down my spine. At 11:49 p.m., while I was double-checking our flight details, a text from Lauren lit up my phone. "Evening was unforgettable. Want to repeat tomorrow night?" I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Before I could respond, another text followed quickly. "Sorry, wrong person. Meant for Sarah about the client dinner. So tired I can barely type." I set the phone down slowly. Lauren didn't work with anyone named Sarah. At least, not that she'd ever mentioned. For a moment, I considered canceling our surprise. Maybe this wasn't the best time to show up unannounced, but I dismissed the thought as quickly as it came. Lauren was obviously exhausted and made a simple mistake. Besides, the kids were already packed and excited. And maybe, though I didn't fully acknowledge this to myself, I needed to see my wife's face when she wasn't expecting me. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay awake replaying Lauren's message in my mind. We'd been married for 18 years. I knew her colleagues, her friends. There was no Sarah. Maybe she'd misspoken, meant to reference someone else. But why the secrecy? Why not just say which colleagues she'd been having dinner with? By morning, I'd convinced myself I was overreacting. Lauren had always been faithful. We had a solid marriage built on trust and mutual respect. One strange text message wasn't enough to throw that all away. I made breakfast for the kids as usual, pancakes with blueberries for Lily, eggs and toast for Tyler. When they left for school, I called my office to finalize arrangements for my absence. "Everything all right, Daniel?" asked Jim, my operations manager. "It's not like you to take off on such short notice." "Just a family thing," I explained. "Surprising Lauren in New York. The kids are excited." "Sounds great," Jim said, though I caught a note of hesitation in his voice. "Actually, now that you mention it, I saw Lauren last week at Morrison's downtown. She was having lunch." Morrison's was an upscale restaurant near Lauren's office. Nothing unusual about her eating there. "And?" "She was with some guy. Looked pretty intense. I waved, but she didn't see me." "Probably a client," I said automatically, though my stomach tightened. "You know how focused she gets during meetings." "Sure," Jim agreed quickly. "That must be it. Anyway, don't worry about anything here. We've got it covered." After hanging up, I sat at the kitchen table, Jim's casual observation joining the uneasy feeling that had been building since Lauren's text. "Don't jump to conclusions," I told myself. "This is your wife of 18 years, the mother of your children." Friday moved in a blur. Last day of school before break, last-minute packing, the rush to the airport. The kids' excitement mounted with each step of our journey, and I channeled my energy into keeping them entertained during the flight, pushing away the nagging doubt that had settled in my stomach. Our flight was delayed for 2 hours due to bad weather on the East Coast. Lily grew restless, wandering the terminal despite my attempts to keep her entertained with games on my tablet. Tyler retreated into his headphones, lost in whatever music teenagers found meaningful these days. "Dad," Lily said, returning from a brief exploration of nearby gates, "why didn't you tell Mom we're coming? Wouldn't that be easier?" "Because it's a surprise, dum-dum," Tyler answered before I could. "Don't call your sister names," I said automatically. "But what if she's busy?" Lily persisted. "What if she has work meetings?" "Then we'll explore New York until she's free," I assured her. "This is an adventure, remember?" The truth was I hadn't really thought through what we'd do if Lauren was genuinely unavailable. The whole plan had come together so quickly, driven by equal parts impulse and the strange unease that had been growing since her text message. By the time we landed at JFK, it was nearly 8 p.m., much later than planned. We made our way through the crowded terminal and caught a taxi to Manhattan. As the iconic skyline came into view, Lily pressed her face against the window. "Is Mom going to cry? I bet she's going to cry." "Probably," I said, smiling at her reflection in the glass. "She might be in a meeting, though, so we'll check in at the hotel first and then figure out the best way to surprise her." The Waldorf Astoria stood majestic and illuminated against the darkening sky. The kids gaped at the ornate lobby as we rolled our luggage toward the reception desk. A young man with a crisp name tag reading Michael greeted us warmly. "Welcome to the Waldorf Astoria. Checking in?" "Yes, reservation under Daniel Carter." He typed efficiently on his keyboard. "Ah, yes, Mr. Carter. We have your family suite ready on the 12th floor." His eyes flicked up. "You mentioned you're surprising your wife?" "That's right, Lauren Carter. She's staying here for business." Michael's fingers hovered over his keyboard. Something flickered across his face before his professional smile reasserted itself. "Yes, Mrs. Carter is indeed staying with us. Room 1214. He lowered his voice slightly. "I should mention that Mrs. Carter has a do not disturb status on her room currently." "That's fine," I said. "We'll get settled in our room first. Is there a way to find out if she's in the hotel now or still out at meetings?" Michael glanced at his screen again. "According to our system, her keycard was last used to enter the room about an hour ago." "Perfect. She was in. Maybe resting before dinner." "Great, thank you. We'll take our room keys now." As Michael processed our check-in, another employee approached the desk and whispered something to him. Michael's eyes widened slightly before he nodded and returned his attention to us. "Mr. Carter, I've placed you in room 1220, just down the hall from Mrs. Carter. Here are your key cards. Would you like assistance with your luggage?" We declined, and minutes later were riding the elevator to the 12th floor. Tyler had grown quiet, sensing perhaps that something felt off. Lily, however, was practically vibrating with excitement. "Can we go see Mom right away? Please, Dad." "Let's drop our bags first, maybe freshen up a bit from the flight," I suggested as the elevator doors opened. We found our room and settled in quickly. The suite was spacious and elegant, with a separate bedroom for the kids and a stunning view of the city lights. Under different circumstances, I would have taken a moment to appreciate the luxury. "Okay," I said, checking my appearance in the mirror. "Let's go surprise your mom." We walked down the carpeted hallway until we reached room 1214. I hesitated, then knelt down to Lily's level. "Why don't you knock, sweetheart? When Mom answers, you can shout, 'Surprise!'" Lily nodded solemnly, accepting this important mission. She raised her small fist and knocked firmly on the door. No answer. She knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. "Maybe she's in the shower?" Tyler suggested. As I was considering our next move, the door to the adjacent room opened, and a middle-aged man in hotel uniform emerged with a room service tray. "Everything all right?" he asked. "We're trying to surprise my wife," I explained. "The front desk said she's in, but she's not answering." The man, his name tag identified him as Roberto, looked at the door number, then back at us. "Ah, the lady in 1214. I just delivered room service there about 20 minutes ago." He hesitated. There were two people in the room. I felt my chest tighten. "My wife and—" Roberto shifted uncomfortably. "A gentleman. They ordered champagne and dinner." Lily tugged at my sleeve. "Dad, is Mom having a work meeting in her room?" "Probably," I said automatically, though my mind is racing through possibilities, none of them good. "Thank you," I told Roberto, who nodded and continued down the hallway. I pulled out my phone and called Lauren's number. We could hear the muffled ringtone through the door. After 4 rings, it stopped. A text appeared seconds later. "In an important meeting. Call you back later." I stared at the message, heat rising in my face. Behind that door, my wife was ignoring her ringing phone while drinking champagne with an unknown man. "Kids," I said, keeping my voice steady, "why don't you go back to our room for a few minutes? I'm going to try to reach Mom another way." Tyler gave me a long look. At 15, he wasn't a child anymore, and I could see the dawning comprehension in his eyes. He put his arm around his sister's shoulders. "Come on, Lily. Let's check out the room service menu. I'm starving after that flight." "But what about surprising Mom?" Lily protested. "We will," I assured her. "Just need a few minutes to coordinate. Room key?" I held out my hand, and Tyler passed me one of our key cards before guiding his sister back down the hall. Once they were out of sight, I stood outside Lauren's door, uncertain of my next move. My training in business negotiations had always emphasized the importance of information. Never confront without knowing exactly what you're dealing with. But this wasn't business. This was my life, my marriage, and 2 children waiting down the hall for answers I wasn't sure I could give them. I pulled out my phone again and dialed Lauren's number. This time, it went straight to voicemail. "Lauren, it's me. I'm outside your hotel room. The kids and I came to surprise you for the weekend. Please open the door." I ended the call and waited. 1 minute, 2. Then I heard movement inside the room. Hushed voices, the sound of closet doors opening and closing. Finally, the door cracked open and Lauren peered out, her face flushed, hair disheveled. "Daniel?" She stepped into the hallway quickly, pulling the door almost closed behind her. She wore a hotel robe tied tightly at the waist. "What are you doing here?" "Surprise," I said flatly. "The kids wanted to see New York. I thought we'd make it a family weekend." Her eyes darted back toward the room. That's wonderful, but you should have called. I'm in the middle of a very important meeting," I finished for her, "with champagne and dinner at 9 p.m. Lauren's expression shifted from surprise to defensiveness. "Yes, actually, Maxwell Grayson is here from the New York office. We're finalizing the Davidson proposal." I studied my wife's face. 18 years of marriage had taught me her tells, the slight crinkle beside her left eye when she wasn't being entirely truthful, the way she touched her collarbone when nervous. "Is that right?" I stepped toward the door. "Then you won't mind if I say hello." "Daniel, please, this isn't a good time. I'm not dressed for company, and we're deep in these projections." She placed a hand against my chest, stopping my advance. Why don't you take the kids for a late dinner, and I'll meet you in the lobby in an hour? Who's Sarah? The question caught her off guard. What? Your text last night about the unforgettable evening. You said it was meant for Sarah. Lauren blinked rapidly. Yes, Sarah Peterson, new hire in marketing. We had dinner with the client yesterday. Funny, I don't remember you ever mentioning a Sarah before. There are 4,000 employees in the company, Daniel. I don't tell you about every single one. Her tone hardened. What is this? An interrogation? I'm trying to work. From inside the room came the unmistakable sound of a glass being set down on a hard surface. Lauren flinched. I said slowly, that Maxwell Grayson can wait a few minutes while you greet your children. They're in room 1220. They've been traveling all day to see you. Lauren hesitated, clearly torn between whatever was happening in that room and the knowledge that her children were just down the hall. Give me 10 minutes, she said finally. I need to change and wrap things up here. 5, I countered. The kids are tired and hungry. She nodded reluctantly and slipped back into the room, closing the door firmly behind her. I stood in the hallway, a storm of emotions brewing inside me. Anger, certainly. Suspicion, but also a strange, detached clarity. I'd come to New York seeking answers, and though I hadn't said it aloud, I was beginning to find them. I returned to our suite where Lily had fallen asleep on one of the beds, the excitement of the day finally catching up with her. Tyler sat on the edge of the other bed, scrolling through his phone with forced casualness. Mom coming? He asked without looking up. She'll be here in a few minutes. She was in a meeting. Tyler nodded, still not meeting my eyes. Was it just a meeting, Dad? The directness of his question caught me off guard. Why would you ask that? He shrugged, but his expression was tense. She's been different lately, always on her phone, laughing at messages she won't show us. And these New York trips, she never used to travel this much. Kids notice everything. I'd been so caught up in work, in maintaining our comfortable life, that I'd missed the signs my teenage son had picked up on. I don't know yet, I admitted, sitting beside him, but I'm going to find out. Tyler nodded solemnly. Just don't lie to us, okay? Even if it's bad. I promise, I said, placing a hand on his shoulder. A soft knock at the door interrupted our conversation. Lauren entered, now dressed in sleek black pants and a blue silk blouse, her hair neatly combed, makeup refreshed. She looked composed, professional, and completely different from the flustered woman I'd encountered in the hallway minutes earlier. Oh my goodness, she exclaimed, her voice pitched higher than normal. What a wonderful surprise. Lily stirred at the sound of her mother's voice, blinking awake. Mom! She scrambled off the bed and threw herself into Lauren's arms. My sweet girl, Lauren murmured, hugging Lily tightly. I can't believe you're here in New York. Tyler hung back, watching the performance with skeptical eyes. Hey, Mom. Tyler. Lauren released Lily and moved to embrace our son, who accepted the hug stiffly. Look how handsome you are. Did you grow another inch since I left? I observed this reunion from a distance, struck by how easily Lauren had shifted from panic to performing the role of delighted mother. Had she always been this good an actress, or was it a skill she'd developed recently? I was just telling the kids we should get some dinner, I said. They're hungry after the flight. Of course, Lauren agreed quickly. There's a wonderful restaurant just around the corner. Or we could order room service if you're too tired to go out. Room service sounds perfect, Lily declared. Can we eat in our pajamas? Lauren laughed, the sound almost genuine. Absolutely, it'll be like a slumber party. As Lauren helped Lily select items from the room service menu, I caught Tyler watching his mother with a guarded expression. He'd picked up on the strange undercurrents, the tension beneath the forced normalcy. He met my eyes briefly, a silent question passing between us. I gave him a slight nod. Later, it promised. We'll talk later. Lauren kept up a stream of cheerful conversation throughout dinner, asking about school, friends, the flight. She told sanitized stories about her business meetings, careful to mention multiple colleagues by name, establishing alibis I hadn't asked for. Not once did she mention Maxwell Grayson or the work they'd supposedly been doing when we arrived. After dinner, when Lily had fallen asleep again and Tyler had retreated to the bedroom with his headphones, Lauren and I sat across from each other at the small dining table in the suite. "This was such a thoughtful surprise," she said, swirling the last of her wine in the glass. "I just wish you'd given me some warning." "That would defeat the purpose of a surprise." She smiled tightly. "Even so, my schedule here is packed. I don't want you and the kids to be disappointed if I can't spend every minute with you." "We'll manage," I said. "In fact, I've already made plans for tomorrow. Breakfast in the hotel restaurant at 9 a.m. I've invited some of your colleagues to join us." The color drained from Lauren's face. "What? Who?" "Your team, the ones you've been working with all week. I thought it would be nice for the kids to meet them." I kept my voice casual. "I spoke to your assistant before we left Seattle. She was happy to arrange it." This was a lie. I had no contact with Lauren's assistant, but I needed to see her reaction. "Daniel, that's not necessary," she said quickly. "These people are incredibly busy. I'm sure they have better things to do on a Saturday morning." "Actually, they seemed quite eager to meet us, especially Maxwell Grayson. Your assistant mentioned you two have been working closely together." Lauren set her wine glass down with a shaking hand. "Look, I appreciate the thought, but I'd really prefer to keep work and family separate this weekend. Let's cancel the breakfast and do something just the four of us." "The invitations have already been sent," I said firmly. "It would be rude to cancel now." She stared at me, a flicker of panic in her eyes. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what? Arranging a friendly breakfast with my wife's colleagues? I thought you'd be pleased." "You know what I mean," she hissed, leaning forward. "These passive-aggressive games, the surprise visit, the sudden interest in my coworkers. What exactly are you trying to prove?" I met her gaze steadily. "I'm not trying to prove anything, Lauren, but I think you might be hiding something. And tomorrow morning we're going to find out what it is." She pushed back from the table abruptly. "I'm going to check on the kids." "They're fine. Tyler's listening to music and Lily's asleep. We're not done talking." "I'm tired, Daniel. It's been a long day and I have another one tomorrow." She gathered her purse and phone. "I should get back to my room." "Your room?" I raised an eyebrow. "Not staying with your family tonight?" Lauren hesitated. "I have all my work materials spread out there, and I need to prepare for an early call." "With Maxwell Grayson?" Her eyes narrowed. "Yes, actually. He's the senior VP of East Coast Operations. We have a lot to coordinate before Monday's presentation." "Funny, I thought your presentation was earlier this week. That's what you told me on Monday." Lauren froze momentarily, then recovered. "That was the preliminary presentation. Monday is the final client meeting." "I see." I stood, moving toward the door. "Well, don't let us keep you from your important work. See you at breakfast, 9 a.m. Don't be late." Once she had left, I sat alone in the quiet suite, listening to the faint sounds of New York traffic far below. My phone buzzed with a text. "Daniel, please don't do this. Not in front of the kids. Can we talk privately tomorrow?" I didn't respond. Instead, I called the hotel's front desk and asked to speak with the manager. 20 minutes later, I was in his office, explaining my situation in carefully chosen words. "I understand your predicament, Mr. Carter," the manager said diplomatically. "While we respect our guests' privacy, we also recognize this is a delicate family matter." "I'm not asking for anything inappropriate," I assured him. "Just confirmation of what I already suspect." The manager, a distinguished man in his 50s named Richard, nodded thoughtfully. "Our security cameras cover all public areas of the hotel. If you're inquiring about footage from these areas, that would be within our policies to share with the registered guest under certain circumstances." "That would be extremely helpful." Richard typed something into his computer. "Mrs. Carter has been staying with us for 5 nights now. Did you have specific dates in mind?" "All of them," I said grimly. The footage, displayed on Richard's monitor, confirmed my worst fears. Lauren and a tall, dark-haired man entering the hotel together, his hand at the small of her back. Lauren and the same man returning late at night, stopping to embrace in the deserted lobby. The two of them sharing drinks in the hotel bar, their body language intimate and familiar. "When did Mrs. Carter check in?" I asked. Richard consulted his records. "Sunday evening, at 7:42 p.m. "And was she alone?" He hesitated. The reservation was made for 2 guests. From the beginning, I murmured, more to myself than to him. This whole trip was planned for 2. Mr. Carter, I hope you understand that in my position, I must remain neutral. However, Richard leaned forward slightly. If you are planning to address this situation during your stay, I would encourage discretion, for everyone's sake, including your children's. I nodded, suddenly feeling the weight of what lay ahead. I appreciate your concern and your help. Richard handed me a USB drive. The relevant footage should you need it. Hotel policy requires we maintain records of all security camera access. Back in our suite, I found Tyler still awake, sitting in the darkened living area, the city lights casting shadows across his face. Couldn't sleep? I asked, sitting beside him. Nah. He stared out at the glittering skyline. Mom's not coming back tonight, is she? No. She's with someone else, isn't she? Another man. I considered deflecting, protecting him from the truth, but I'd promised not to lie. I think so. I don't have all the answers yet. Tyler nodded, his jaw tight. I heard her on the phone once, late at night when she thought everyone was asleep. She was laughing, this weird, giggly laugh she never uses with us. When I asked who she was talking to the next morning, she said it was Aunt Carol. Aunt Carol, Lauren's sister, who lived in Portland with her wife and 3 cats, who went to bed at 9 p.m. every night and certainly wouldn't have been on the phone at midnight. I'm sorry, Tyler. It's not your fault, he said, his voice cracking slightly. What are you going to do? I looked at the USB drive in my hand, the damning evidence it contained. Something I probably shouldn't do in front of you and your sister. But I don't see another way. He was quiet for a long moment. We should be there. Lily and me. We deserve to know the truth too. I studied my son's face, the determination in his eyes despite the pain behind them. It won't be pretty. Neither is lying to your family. The next morning unfolded with a sense of grim inevitability. Lily, innocent and excited about breakfast in a fancy hotel restaurant, chattered happily as we dressed. Tyler remained solemn, helping his sister with their shoes, checking that I had everything I needed. I'd arranged with the restaurant manager to have a small projector set up at our table, connected to a laptop. For a business presentation, I'd explained. He hadn't questioned it. Lauren was already waiting when we arrived, seated at a large round table with 4 other people, 3 women and Maxwell Grayson, who matched exactly the man I'd seen in the security footage. Tall, polished, expensively dressed. The kind of man who looked like he belonged in luxury hotel rooms with other men's wives. There's Mom, Lily waved enthusiastically, rushing over to hug Lauren. I followed more slowly, Tyler at my side. Lauren made nervous introductions. Everyone, this is my husband, Daniel, and our children, Tyler and Lily. Daniel, these are my colleagues, Patricia, Samantha, Rebecca, and Max, whom I mentioned last night. Max couldn't meet my eyes. The women smiled politely, clearly unaware of the situation. It's so lovely to finally meet Lauren's family, one of them, Samantha, I thought, said warmly. She talks about you all the time. Does she? I asked mildly, taking my seat. How interesting. Lauren shot me a pleading look across the table. I ignored it, turning instead to Max. So, Max, how long have you been working with my wife? He cleared his throat. About a year and a half. And in that time, you've gotten to know her quite well, I imagine. The table fell silent. Even Lily seemed to sense the tension, pressing closer to Lauren's side. Daniel, Lauren warned quietly. I smiled coldly and signaled to a waiter, who approached quickly with the laptop. Before we order, I have something everyone needs to see, I said. My voice steady despite the rage building inside me. The hotel security team was very helpful in providing this footage. Lauren half rose from her seat. Daniel, please don't. The waiter had already connected the laptop to a small projector. The images flashed onto the wall beside our table, impossible to ignore. The footage was damning. Lauren and Max entering the hotel, his arm possessively around her waist. Another clip showed them returning late at night, stopping in the deserted lobby where he pushed her against a column, their kiss passionate and lingering. The final clip, from just 2 days ago, showed them at the hotel bar, Lauren laughing as Max whispered in her ear, her hand sliding up his thigh. his fingers intertwined with hers. The table was deadly silent. Lily looked confused. Tyler had gone pale. The three female colleagues stared open-mouthed at the footage, then at Lauren, whose face had crumpled in shame. "Dad?" Tyler's voice broke the silence. "What is this?" I turned off the projector. "This is the truth, son. Your mother has been having an affair with Mr. Grayson here for the past 8 months. "Daniel," Lauren gasped. "Not like this." "When would be a good time, Lauren? After another year of lies? When the kids are in college? Or were you planning to leave us all together once you'd grown tired of your double life?" One of the women, Patricia, stood abruptly. "I think we should go." "No, please stay," I said. "Finish your breakfast. I'm the one who's leaving. I've seen enough. Kids?" Tyler stood immediately. Lily remained glued to Lauren's side, confusion and tears welling in her eyes. "Mommy? What's happening?" Lauren wrapped her arms around our daughter. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just grown-up problems. Everything's going to be okay." "Lily," I said gently, "we need to go pack our things. We're going home today." "But we just got here," she protested. "We're supposed to see New York." "Another time," I promised. "Tyler, take your sister upstairs, please." My son nodded grimly, prying his reluctant sister away from Lauren. As they left, I turned back to the table. Max and the three women sat in uncomfortable silence, while Lauren had buried her face in her hands. "I apologize for disrupting your breakfast," I told them, "but I thought you should know who you're working with. Both of them." With that, I walked away, leaving Lauren to deal with the wreckage of her professional reputation. It was petty, perhaps even cruel, but in that moment I couldn't bring myself to care. As I crossed the restaurant, a hand grabbed my arm. Max Grayson, his face flushed with anger or embarrassment. I couldn't tell which. "You had no right to do that," he hissed, "to humiliate her in front of her colleagues, her children." I stared at him, this stranger who had inserted himself into my marriage, my life. "And you had no right to sleep with my wife. Yet here we are." "It wasn't like that. Lauren and I don't care what you and Lauren are," I cut him off. "I don't care what justifications you've created to make yourselves feel better about betraying my family. All I care about is getting my children home safely and figuring out what's left of my marriage." "She was unhappy," Max said, his voice lower now. "She felt trapped, invisible." "When was the last time you actually saw her, Daniel? Really saw her?" The question hit harder than I expected. When had I last truly focused on Lauren, not as the mother of my children or my partner in managing our household, but as the woman I'd fallen in love with? I pushed the thought aside. This wasn't the time for self-recrimination. "That's between me and my wife," I said firmly. "Stay away from my family, Mr. Grayson. I won't tell you twice." I pulled free of his grip and continued toward the elevator, my mind already on the difficult conversations ahead with my children. Back in our suite, I found Tyler helping Lily pack her suitcase, his own already neatly organized by the door. My son had stepped up, shielding his sister as best he could from the emotional storm breaking over our family. "All set?" I asked, trying to sound normal for Lily's sake. "Almost," Tyler answered. "Just need to gather the bathroom stuff." Lily sat on the edge of the bed, her small face troubled. "Daddy, why is everyone mad at Mommy? What did she do wrong?" I sat beside her, searching for words a 10-year-old could understand. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that hurt other people's feelings, big mistakes that change relationships. Did Mom make a mistake? Yes, sweetheart, she did. I smoothed her hair gently, and right now I'm feeling very hurt and angry about it. Is it because she was hugging that man in the video? Mom hugs lots of people. It's more complicated than that, I said carefully. But yes, your mom and that man have a relationship that shouldn't exist. Not while she's married to me. Lily considered this. Are you and Mom getting a divorce? Like Jenny's parents? The question pierced straight through me. I don't know yet, Lily. That's something Mom and I will have to figure out when we get home. But we'll still be a family, right? You'll both still be my mom and dad? I pulled her into a tight hug. Always. No matter what happens between me and your mom, we will always, always be your parents. And we will always love you and Tyler more than anything in the world. A soft knock interrupted us. Tyler opened the door, revealing Lauren, her eyes red and swollen. May I come in? She asked quietly. Tyler shrugged and returned to his packing. I nodded once and she entered, closing the door behind her. I've booked you on the noon flight, she said, in first class. The car will be here in an hour. Thank you, I said stiffly. Lauren looked around the room at our half-packed bags, at Tyler's rigid back, at Lily's tear-stained face. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. I'm so sorry. Are you coming home with us, Mommy? Lily asked hopefully. Lauren knelt down to our daughter's level. Not today, sweetheart. I have to finish my work here, but I'll be home on Tuesday, just like planned. Will you still live with us? Lauren looked up at me, a question in her eyes that I wasn't prepared to answer. We'll figure everything out when I get home, she told Lily. But no matter what, I will always be your mom and I will always love you. She hugged Lily tightly, then approached Tyler, who remained with his back to her. Tyler, can I talk to you? He turned slowly. What's there to say? You cheated on Dad. You lied to all of us. The bluntness of his accusation hung in the air. Lauren nodded, accepting it. You're right, I did, and it was wrong and I will regret it for the rest of my life. Whatever, he muttered, returning to his packing. Lauren tried to touch his shoulder, but he shrugged her off. She stepped back, visibly wounded but accepting his rejection. Can I have a moment alone with your father? She asked. Tyler grabbed his backpack. Come on, Lily, let's go check out the gift shop. Once the kids had left, Lauren and I stood facing each other in the silent room. What you did downstairs was cruel, she said finally. What you've been doing for 8 months was crueler. She nodded. I deserved it, all of it, but the kids didn't. No, they didn't, I agreed. But you brought this on them, not me. I know. She sank into a chair. What happens now? I zipped my suitcase closed. Now we go home. You finish whatever you need to finish here. And when you get back to Seattle, we'll talk about separation terms. Daniel, please. I'm not interested in reconciliation, Lauren. You didn't have a one-night stand or a momentary lapse in judgment. You constructed an entire second life. You erased your family when it was convenient for you. How could I ever trust you again? I'll do anything, she whispered. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. It's too late. I picked up my suitcase. I'll wait for the kids in the lobby. As I headed for the door, Lauren called after me, I do love you, you know, I always have. I paused, hand on the doorknob. If this is what your love looks like, I'd rather not have it. In the hallway, I nearly collided with Max Grayson, who was leaving Lauren's room with a small duffel bag. Carter, he acknowledged stiffly. I blocked his path. A word, if you don't mind. Max sighed. Look, I understand you're angry. Angry doesn't begin to cover it, but that's not what I want to talk about. I stepped closer. I want to know how long. Lauren said 8 months. The truth, I insisted. How long have you been sleeping with my wife? Max studied me for a moment, then leaned closer. You know what your problem is, Carter? You got too comfortable, too sure of yourself. Lauren needed someone who actually saw her, not just as a wife or mother, but as a woman with desires and ambitions. I felt my control slipping. You don't know the first thing about my marriage. I know more than you think, he said with infuriating confidence. I know how she sounds when she... I didn't let him finish. My fist connected with his jaw before I even realized I'd moved. Max stumbled backward, hand flying to his face in shock. A security guard appeared almost instantly. Gentlemen, this is a 5-star establishment, he warned, positioning himself between us. Max straightened his jacket, eyes blazing. You're going to regret that. Not as much as you'll regret ever meeting my wife, I replied, my voice deadly calm despite my racing heart. Stay away from my family, Grayson. I won't tell you twice. The journey home was subdued. Lily fell asleep on the plane, exhausted from the emotional morning. Tyler put on his headphones and stared out the window for the entire flight. I tried to read to distract myself, but kept seeing the security footage playing over and over in my mind. Landing in Seattle felt surreal, as if we were returning to a life that no longer existed. The house looked exactly as we'd left it, yet everything had changed. Tyler disappeared into his room without a word. Lily clung to me, suddenly fearful in a way she hadn't been before. Is Mom really coming home on Tuesday? She asked as I tucked her into bed that night. That's what she said. And then everything will be okay again. I smoothed her blanket, buying time. Things might be different for a while, Lily. Mom and I have a lot to figure out. But you still love her, right? Even though you're mad. Did I? I'd loved Lauren for 20 years. Been married to her for 18. Could love that deep simply vanish overnight? Or was it still there, buried beneath layers of betrayal and anger? It's complicated, I said finally, but I will always love you and Tyler. That will never, ever change. Over the next few days, I went through the motions of normalcy for the kids' sake. We ordered takeout, watched movies. I took them to the park, to the mall, anywhere to keep them occupied during their spring break. Lauren called every night to speak with them. Tyler's conversations were clipped and formal. Lily slowly stopped asking when Mom would be home. I contacted a lawyer and began the divorce proceedings. In Washington state, we'd need to wait 90 days after filing. But my attorney assured me that given the circumstances, I had a strong case for primary custody and keeping the house. Will she fight it? The lawyer asked. I don't know, I admitted, but the evidence is pretty damning. Infidelity doesn't automatically determine custody arrangements, she warned me. The court considers the best interests of the children above all else. And it's in their best interest to stay in their home with the parent who didn't lie to them for over a year. The lawyer made a non-committal noise. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. See what she says when she returns. The Tuesday Lauren was due to return, I took the kids to my parents' home for dinner. When we returned, her car was in the driveway. Lily ran inside immediately. Tyler hesitated, then followed slowly. I took my time preparing myself for whatever confrontation awaited. Inside, Lauren was sitting on the couch, Lily cuddled against her side. Tyler stood awkwardly by the stairs. The atmosphere was thick with the unspoken words. Kids, I said, could you give your mother and me some time to talk? Tyler, make sure your sister gets ready for bed. They went upstairs reluctantly, Lily throwing worried glances over her shoulder. Once we were alone, Lauren spoke first. I've been served with divorce papers. Yes, you're requesting full custody. Primary custody, I corrected. You'll have visitation rights. She nodded, accepting this. I've spoken with my company. I've requested a permanent transfer to the Seattle office. No more travel. That's between you and your employer. And I've started therapy, she continued. I know you don't believe this, but I want to understand why I did what I did, why I risked everything that mattered. I sat in the armchair across from her. Did you come to any conclusions? Not yet, but I know it wasn't about you or the kids or even Max. It was something broken in me. She leaned forward. Daniel, I know I have no right to ask, but is there any chance, even the smallest chance, that you might consider counseling before finalizing the divorce? I'd asked myself this question repeatedly over the past few days. Whether 18 years and 2 children were worth trying to salvage. Whether I could ever look at her without seeing her with him. No, I said finally, I've made my decision. But I want you to know that I'll never stand between you and the kids. Whatever relationship you rebuild with them is up to you. She absorbed this, tears slipping down her cheeks. Where will I live? That's for you to figure out. The lawyer suggested you move into the guest room until the divorce is finalized for the kids' sake. After that, you'll need to find your own place. And Max? What about him? She wiped her eyes. He's been fired. The company has a strict policy against undisclosed relationships between employees, especially when corporate funds are misused. I felt no satisfaction at this news. That's not my concern. He told me what you said to him about destroying our careers. I was angry. But you didn't do it. I shrugged. It wouldn't bring me any peace, and it would only hurt the kids more to see you publicly humiliated. Lauren studied me, a flicker of the woman I'd married visible beneath the stranger she'd become. You're a better person than I deserve. This isn't about what either of us deserves, Lauren. It's about moving forward in a way that causes the least damage to Tyler and Lily. We sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of 18 years pressing down between us. I never thought we'd end like this, Lauren said softly. Neither did I. I stood up. I'm going to check on the kids. In the following weeks, we established a new normal. Lauren moved into the guest room. We created separate schedules for using the kitchen, the living areas. We spoke only about logistics and the children. It was awkward, painful, but necessary until the divorce could be finalized. Tyler remained distant with his mother, answering her questions with minimal words, declining her invitations to spend time together. Lily, more forgiving by nature, slowly warmed back up to Lauren, though there remained a new caution in her interactions, a child's awareness that adults could disappoint you in profound ways. One evening, about 2 months after New York, I took the kids to the pier at Lake Washington. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the water. Lily skipped stones while Tyler sat with me on a bench. "Are you okay, Dad?" he asked suddenly. I looked at my son, struck by how much he'd matured in these difficult months. "I'm getting there," I said honestly. "How about you?" He shrugged. "I keep thinking about what Mom did, trying to understand it." "Some things don't have easy explanations, Tyler." Lily ran up to us, cheeks flushed with excitement. "Dad, Tyler, I got a stone to skip 5 times. Did you see?" "That's amazing, sweetheart," I said, pulling her into a hug. As I held my daughter with my son beside me and the sun setting over the water, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness exactly. Not yet. But perhaps the beginning of acceptance. "Hey," I said, releasing Lily, "what do you say we start a new tradition? Every Friday, we come here to watch the sunset." "Just the 3 of us?" Lily asked. "For now," I said. "And later. Who knows? Life has a way of surprising them." Tyler caught my eye, a small smile forming. Sometimes surprises aren't so bad. I looked out across the water, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "No," I agreed. "Sometimes they're exactly what we need." We stood together as the daylight faded, ready to face whatever came next.